I'd like to call to order the Clarkson Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for November 11th, 2019 at 6:04 p.m. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Jan Gaffney.
Here.
Michelle Ginn.
Here.
Dan Green.
Here.
Mary Hemberg.
Here.
Allison McFadden-Kiesling.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Ann Rose.
Here.
Judy Meredith here.
Okay. I'll accept the motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry. And second.
We have it. Such enthusiasm. I know, I like this.
Allison.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is passed. Call to the public.
That's me.
Yes.
At the Friends General Membership Meeting held in October, the library's fall wish list, which was approximately $11,710, was accepted and approved. So everything is set for that. The election of officers, which is kind of thin. President is going to be Carol McNally, and Secretary is Julie Sitzowitz, whose name I always mispronounce.
That was good.
Bill Bowman also had a short demonstration about cutting the cord and saving money. In addition, Bill will be doing a more detailed presentation on November 26th here at the library from 6:30 to 8:30 if anyone would like to attend.
Now, excuse me, is this cutting the cable cord?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. This year, the Friends awarded 2 individuals as Friend of the Year, Janet Coughing and Bill Bowman. And the volunteer management system, Ballistics, will be accessible to the Friends starting January in 2020. Just as a reminder, the Holiday Boutique sale is Saturday, September 7th from 10 to 3. We have books that are like new. We have Purses with a Purpose, and we have framed children's illustrations.
Oh, cool. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, we will close the call to the public. The consent agenda consists of 7 items. I'll accept a motion.
I move that we approve it as presented.
Second.
It's been moved that we accept the consent agenda as approved and seconded. Are there any items that one wants to discuss individually of the 7? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Library statistics.
Okay, in terms of statistics, Adrian wanted me to point out the volunteers, that we had 40 hours, over 40 hours worth of volunteers in the month of October. And she wanted me to let you know that they worked on Boo-A-Palooza, which was our Halloween event, music and movement, youth programming preparations, addressing envelopes for our new homeowners outreach program, button making, and help in technical services preparing books for the shelf. So
Excellent.
lots of volunteer help.
Okay, any question about any of these statistics? Our most colorful page. Okay. Library Director's Report.
Okay. I did update the director's report since this was supposed to be last week's report, but we're doing it on the 18th now. On Monday, November 11th, due to inclement weather, the library board postponed their meeting until Monday, November 18th. The library also closed early that night at 8:00 p.m. Project updates during the first week of November, banners with our mission statement words, innovate, enrich, and educate, and marking the outside book return were added to the light poles near the library's entrance and along the driveway. This is part of our ongoing project to update our appearance and improve signage. Next item. So far, we've had 2 meetings with Mary Jo Warner from ISCG, the workplace consultant we are using to update the administration office. This change will allow that space to accommodate an additional employee, our community relations volunteer coordinator, which in turn creates an added workspace for the new school library liaison that we will be hiring in the spring. We're still in the design stage, but we anticipate bringing a proposal to the board for review in December or January to allow work to be done early in the new year. Next item, another area that is due for updating is the teen lounge. Recently, new signage was installed, but the room itself is in need of some space planning to become more inviting to our local students. The teen librarian and I have met with Library Design Associates and have been given an initial draft of a plan that the teen librarian has shown to her teen lead group for feedback. So that's just in its very initial stages. In terms of collaborations, the Friends membership meeting, as Nancy mentioned, took place on October 24th, at which the library's fall wish list was reviewed and approved. The projects on the list were planned and proposed by library staff from various departments, and our generous friends are contributing nearly $12,000 toward local library programs and collections. We're very excited about those projects.
Thank them for us.
Yes.
Next item, once again, the library participated in Impact Weekend, a twice-a-year event that brings hundreds of volunteers together to improve the community. Projects range from Rake and Run, where teams of volunteers rake leaves for our community's older residents, to preparation of emergency supply buckets used for areas affected by hurricanes or floods. This fall, the library hosted a project for children and their families to create festive placemats with thoughtful messages that will be included in the Senior Center's Meals on Wheels deliveries for Thanksgiving.
Aw.
So they had a great turnout for that, and it was really fun.
They rake the leaves just in time.
And they raked the leaves just in time.
Not everyone did.
Not everybody.
No. And last, on November 5th, the library hosted the polling location for Independence Township's Precinct 4. Townships usually only have elections during even-numbered years, but a special election was held, so we were able to adjust our meeting room schedule to accommodate this need. We appreciate everyone's flexibility in adding this to our schedule on relatively short notice, and the Township Clerk's Office, poll workers, and DPW team for making sure it runs so smoothly. It went very, very well.
Thank you.
And the library was very accommodating to all of us that were working there too, which we really appreciate.
That's very
Well, we have
good.
a regular and familiar team, so.
It's becoming more familiar all the time.
Great. All right, now to regular business. Number 1, the review of the third quarter financial report.
Okay, so on the financial report, I can just pull up little notes here. So the first thing, the funds that are coming in terms of revenue have been coming in as they are supposed to. Now this would be the report for, that ends for the third quarter, and so it ends on October 30th. So you have heard about money, I'm sorry, September 30th. So you have heard about money, penal fines having already come in, but this report was prior to that. So it looks like here it hasn't come in yet, but it has. This is just the report before it posted.
Okay.
So fear not, that money is going in where it belongs. We're doing well, we're under budget in most areas, or right on target. There are a handful of items that the accountant pointed out to us. She pointed out health insurance, which we knew might be an issue because we had some changes in staffing, but we wanted to wait until later in the year in order to make that adjustment. Life insurance, workers' comp, disability, short-term and long-term, these are all in need of small adjustments, but I think that we want to wait and do that at the last board meeting of the year, because none of them are in a situation where we're going over budget. So what she'll do is what she's been doing the past few years. For the December meeting, she will do a year-to-date as of November 30th, and then we'll know clearly which line items have some surplus in them and which ones are potentially going under or going over budget. And I kind of talked to her about that. One of the ones that she wanted to point out specifically under the benefit section, 719 that's listed as OPEB, that's actually supposed to say HCSP, that's our retirement healthcare plan. That, you'll see, we've spent nothing out of that. And that is because we have a vesting period for employees. We contribute for each employee during each pay period, But if they leave before they're fully vested, that money reverts back to the library. They don't give the money back to us, they hold on to it. So what we do is then we tell MERS, no, we want to put it toward our future contributions. So for this entire year, we have been spending down that forfeiture money. So we've had none that has had to come out of this budget. So there's a chunk of surplus right there that I think we'll be shuffling around to cover those health insurance and, yeah, those other benefits ones. I think there's going to be plenty of money in that line and the things that need to be done there. So it's just a matter of shuffling it around when we know what those numbers really look like. Sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Other than that, I think everything is looking pretty clean. Does anybody have any questions about any of the?
Nope, we like seeing things that are not in the minus
That's
accounts.
right. There is one 818.780 grant project that has no money budgeted for it, and there's $28 out of that. That's in the wrong line item, and I caught that when I was looking at it last week. I have called the accountant, and she's going to take care of it. We just need to have, whatever that invoice was, it just needed to be moved to a different line, and it got misassigned. Yep. We don't have any grant projects going, and that's why there's no money budgeted in that account. We had grants last year. And then sales tax is another one that we sort of wait and see. You can see we've put $5 towards sales tax this year for the sales that we've made up at the circulation desk. We sell flash drives and earbuds and things like that. We don't sell a lot of them, obviously.
Apparently.
Well, the tax is what, 6%?
Yep. So what we've been doing the last few years, we've waited and put money in that budget when we know about how much we're doing. For the 2020 budget, we did actually budget a number for that. I think we budgeted like $20 or $30 to cover that because we're not really selling that much. The whole point of those sales is not to make money, it's to have those particular items available to the public. And so they're not.
So they're not stuck with not having a flash drive when they need it.
Exactly. They're for emergency purposes, but most people who come prepared to do what they need to do. So we don't make a lot of sense. Mostly it's convenience. Any other questions about them? No? Okay. So you'll see next month we'll be doing a full report and making budget adjustments, but we'll wait to do that.
Okay, let's move to number 2. Renew and approval of the contractor for accounting services.
Okay. At the September 16th, 2019 meeting, the library board approved an RFP to be posted for accounting services. The RFP was posted to the library's website, shared on the statewide library listserv, and emailed to firms that submitted proposals in response to our audit RFP, except for the selected firm. We received 3 submissions from Sharon Duckworth, our current accountant, Maynard Costerison, and Yo and Yo. A summary of the proposals is in the packet. The review committee consisted of Treasurer Jan Gaffney, Library Director Julie Meredith, and Administrative Assistants Debbie Zielverla and Eric Cloutier. The proposals were thoroughly reviewed and discussed. Sharon Duckworth has the lowest bid. However, the committee had concerns that as an independent contractor, if anything happened that she could not execute her tasks, that there wouldn't be a backup plan. In addition, we wanted clarification of the timing of the completion of tasks to accommodate reports to be included in the library board packets. Sharon was asked to provide additional information about those concerns. She stated that she has several colleagues that would be willing to take on her responsibilities in such a situation. She also provided appropriate clarification regarding the timing and deadlines for completion of the reports to be included in the board packets. The committee was satisfied with the responses, and she will include these details in her engagement letter if she's awarded the contract. It is the recommendation of the committee that the contract be awarded to Sharon Duckworth, the lowest bidder and current accountant.
Okay, very clear. Any questions since she's answered our concerns or the subcommittee's concerns?
Yep, I emailed them to her and she sent a response right back. Also, accounting services are included in the professional and contract services line item of the 2020 budget. Sharon's proposed pricing for 2020 is less than we are currently paying and less than what we budgeted for 2020. So.
Okay. In that case, I'll accept a motion.
I so move.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract for accounting services beginning January 1st, 2020 to Sharon Duckworth as presented. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion is carried. Okay, number 3.
All right.
You have to go through a few pages of our
Yeah.
packet. There's a lot in this
There's
packet.
a lot of paper.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that's okay.
That's
Okay. We felt informed. Okay, number 3 is the review and approval of the facilities maintenance contract.
Okay. In 2019, the library contracted with Allied Building Services for a comprehensive building maintenance contract. This was a new program, and the lead custodian and library director have been working with our account manager and site technician to streamline the way the system works. In general, we've been satisfied with this program and are proposing to renew the contract for 2020. One item we asked to adjust is the number of extra hours covered by the contract. We requested that it include 4 to 6 instead of 2 to 4 hours. There was a slight adjustment in the monthly price to accommodate this added service. In terms of legal review, last year the library's attorney reviewed this contract. The only differences between the 2019 and 2020 contracts are slight adjustments to the work list and price. And then this is a budgeted item for 2020.
Have we ever looked at a cost comparison between doing this and actually hiring a facilities person?
We did when we first
Yes.
looked at this and discovered that finding somebody who had the level of skill that we needed for the amount of time that we would have would be a very difficult person to find. What we have done this year is figure out what Allied is really good at and what we like for them to do, and which tasks maybe we should be doing separately. So for example, we tried their floor cleaning service. We weren't entirely thrilled with that. So that's not in the contract. We do that separately. Window cleaning is a similar sort of thing. So we use them for that handyman sort of stuff. The nice thing about Allied is that if our technician doesn't have that skill set, they send a different technician.
Right.
Whereas if we had an employee, we would be hiring an outside contractor to do it. So this is nice because they have a whole crew of people who know how to do these things. And if Derek, our usual guy, doesn't know how to do what needs to be done, they send us the person who does. So.
I figured that was the
Yeah.
case, but I just
Yeah.
thought perhaps we should say that out loud.
Yeah. Well, and last year, we're a pilot organization for this particular contract. So in 2019, we were trying something new with Allied. They didn't have this monitoring system before. You just brought them in to do what you needed them to do. And it's been going pretty well. We're still tweaking it. We want to try it one more year and see how well we can get it streamlined. It was bumpy the first few months to kind of figure out. Basically, he comes in and he does a list of regular maintenance tasks, and then he has 2 to 4 additional hours each month when he comes to do the tasks that we put on the list. It took us a little time to kind of get the feel for how that worked. Like we would make a list of things, and he kept wanting to stay longer to finish all those things. And finally, he and Arlene worked out a really nice system by which she had a whole list of items, and she would prioritize them. And she'd say, okay, if you have time this month, these are the things I want you to do. These other things can wait. They're not as pressing. These are for next month if,
Right.
so he got through as many of those things as he could, and then
In that number of
Yeah.
hours that were
Yeah.
already part of the
So
contract.
now
this had something to do with lengthening that time period.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
So-
otherwise you pay an hourly rate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there are a certain number of hours built into the contract. So we have that kind of figured out now. We'd like to give this one more year and see, and then maybe next year we would, once we really know what it is we need and what it is we want, it would be another thing that we potentially could do an RFP and see if there are other companies out there. But we'd already been working with them and we wanted to give this a try. They were giving us a good price for it.
It does
So
take time for that.
it does take time, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a totally new
Mhm.
thing for us, because prior to separation, if we needed something done, the township had somebody that
Mhm. Yep,
could come and do it,
yep.
potentially.
And there was a rate for that as well. So-
Right. Oh, yeah,
Charged against the
nothing is
budget.
ever for
Nothing is
free.
ever free, no.
No, it's not. It's not. But
Okay.
Excellent. Well, in that case, I will accept a motion.
I move that we approve the Comprehensive Facilities Maintenance Program contract with Allied Building Service as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the Comprehensive Facilities Maintenance Program contract with Allied Building Service as presented. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay, number 4, discussion of 2-year contract for snow plowing.
Okay. Here we are talking about snow again. I thought I had crossed this one off the to-do list. At the October meeting, the library board approved a contract for snow plowing with Michigan Outdoor Services. Upon calling the contractor to let him know that he had been awarded the contract, he offered a 2-year contract that would extend the quoted 2019-2020 prices into the 2020-2021 season. We feel that this would be a good deal and would save us the time and work of executing an RFP process again next fall. This is the contractor that we used during the 2018-2019 season, and we are satisfied with his service. The contract does include a cancellation clause in case anything regarding the service were to change. At the end of this extended contract, we would have had this contractor for 3 seasons, which would be an appropriate length of time for a fresh bid process and the possible consideration of a change of service providers. We are asking the library board to extend the already approved snow plowing contract with Michigan Outdoor Services for 2 seasons.
Sounds like a good deal.
It does sound good.
Yeah, I mean, that's unusual because it's, they never know what their costs for salt is gonna be and all of that, so that's kind of nice for him to extend it that long.
Yeah,
And you were happy with just this latest?
he did a really nice job with our unexpected
Because
snow.
it kept coming.
Yeah, that's good to
He
know.
did. Arlene was really pleased with the way that he handled it as well, because she's been negotiating out with him. Since we added the shed, there's a little extra sidewalk.
Oh.
And so she had to kind of negotiate out with him in terms of, he kept wanting to do it with the rest of the sidewalks, which the way we have it set up, the sidewalks that are at the main entrance are considered primary. So when we get a snow, they do those sidewalks and the parking lot first because that's how the patrons come and go. Then we have what we consider secondary sidewalks, which are the one that goes along the east side of the building and the safety path. That we wait until the snow stops so that we're not continuously plowing, because if they cancel school, nobody's using that sidewalk anyway. So we wait until the snow stops and then we do that one. Saves us a little bit of money from having to keep that one clear when it's being minimally used. And it was very, very nice of him to want to include this tiny little sidewalk in the primaries, but she said, if it's really snowing that hard, I'm not going out to the shed.
We're not
So
going
don't
out
worry
there."
about it. Yeah, so she worked with him and he came back later and he really appreciated that because it was so snowy. He just waited until it was done, came, cleaned that all off, salted it nice for her, and she was happy with it. So he's been very responsive to her needs in terms of customizing what it is that we need.
Well, I think this does sound like a good deal.
Then we've already had experience with him for a year, so this is not a new
Right.
situation. Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move to approve the contract for snow plowing with Michigan Outdoor Service for the 2019-2020 and 2020-2021 seasons.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the extension, I'm not leaving all those dates, the extension of our snow removal contract.
That is very true.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Okay, now, we have to approve the updated FOIA.
Okay, this one is the bulk of the paper in your packet.
See if I noticed that.
Yeah, sorry about that. In 2017, the library board passed a resolution approving a Freedom of Information Act FOIA policy created for the library by our attorney, Ann Cernick. In 2018, some changes to the FOIA law were approved, which include requiring certain contact information be provided by the requester, changes to the requirements for submitting written requests, and notice to the requester regarding fees and deposits. Ann is recommending that the library board pass a resolution that repeals the previous policy and replaces it with the amended FOIA policy that she has provided that reflects these changes in the law. So there's a lot of paper here for the small changes that happened, but she really, for the sake of efficiency, felt that it was the best thing to pull it and redo it instead of trying to look at each of those tiny little changes.
Therefore, do we need 2 motions? A motion to,
Nope, it's all written into the resolution.
Okay.
All you have to do is adopt the resolution, and the resolution actually says
goodbye to the old policy.
goodbye to the old policy and hello to the new one.
Just
Right, I thought that.
for future, in a case like this, would it be possible for her to send a red line copy with just the changes
Yeah.
highlighted so that,
Well, she didn't do that. This is the way that she sent it, so.
just, I mean, because that would I started reading it all and I thought, this cannot be, all be new. This can't all be, and so finally I said, okay, you know.
No.
But, you know, having a red line copy.
Normally, that's how she
I
she
know, I
does
was
things.
surprised.
But in this case, because the changes were so minor, I think she just,
So these are what they're going to be,
this is the way.
the contact
Well, and
information.
technically, the way she does FOIA policy is she has a FOIA policy that she has created for libraries that she basically sells as a policy. You don't pay her to make the changes.
Right.
All you do is you buy the policy and she goes in and makes sure that your name is in all the appropriate places. That this is a standard library
Yeah.
FOIA policy. So she may not know which version,
We
she may not have realized which
right,
version we
yeah.
had, and so I think it
As opposed to she's doing something just for us.
Right, when she does something just for us, she does send a red line.
Yeah, because
policy
that
change.
does make things
Yep.
much simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had
didn't
excellent
enjoy
reading,
it?
all our reading skills.
No, really not. I've read FOIA policies before. They're not a thrill.
They're not.
Make sure you're ready.
Okay, so this is our resolution.
Yep,
Does everybody have this in front of them?
Yes.
you don't have to read the whole resolution either. You
Thank you.
adopt the resolution approving it as presented.
So would someone like to make a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the updated FOIA information pursuant to libraries as presented.
Beautifully phrased.
Thank you. All those in favor?
No,
We have to
got
do a
the
roll call.
Oh, do we have to do a roll call?
Yep, sorry. Jane
That's okay.
Gaffney,
Yes.
Michelle Gann,
Yes.
Dan Green,
Yes.
Mary Hamburg,
Yes.
Allison McFadden-Keesling,
Yes.
Marilyn Pomeroy,
Yes.
and Rose.
Yes.
Thank
You should read a little closer.
you. Sorry.
The motion has been approved. Okay. Now we're looking at the proposed update to the lunch policy. Again, you have to go through a little ways.
Notice how my policies are short. Just want to point that out. Stuff I'm turning in, this is stuff that from the attorney reform. Okay. In an effort to provide some schedule flexibility, it has been requested that we consider offering an additional shortened lunch option that would also shorten an employee's workday. The standard full-time schedule is to work 8 hours with a 1 hour unpaid lunch. A few staff members would like to choose a half-hour unpaid lunch in order to come in a half hour later, or leave a half hour earlier, or because they do not need the full hour for lunch. The library still has a policy regarding having 2 full-time employees in the building at all times it is open to the public, and also requirements for information and circulation desk coverage. In addition, on days the library is open 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., employees working the evening shift need a lunch break appropriately timed for an evening schedule. So employees working a daytime schedule need to provide the coverage for that lunch break prior to leaving for the day. The full-time employees met to discuss how to address this request and propose a compromise that stipulates that the employees wishing to choose this option, the employee wishing to choose this option is responsible for checking for appropriate coverage, documenting the schedule change, and assuring the scheduling supervisor is aware of it. If such a schedule change prevents appropriate coverage, then this option would not be available on that day.
So this is the compromise.
So this is the compromise, yep.
Sounds like a good compromise.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
So there's some flexibility.
They can try it too, and, you know, if they
Yep.
don't like it, then we can change it.
Yep, they pulled it all together and said for the few people that, there's really just a couple of people that wanted the ability to do it, and they don't even want to do it all the time, they wanted the ability to do it from time to time.
So that's the way it's going to be from time to time on their choice.
Yep, but the requirement is that they need to make sure that there's appropriate coverage before they do
Yeah.
so.
And it's better that it fall on them instead of on the supervisor or,
Yeah.
you know, because then it kind of will get lost in the shuffle and.
Well, because the schedule, and the scheduling supervisor supervises the schedule, not the employees per se.
Right.
His job is to make sure that the schedule has full coverage. And basically what he does is goes through and each month everybody puts in their schedule and he goes through and looks for holes. And then we have a meeting of the full-time employees and we fill the holes as a team. So his job is really to just review and double check that nothing has fallen through the cracks. So we didn't want the weight to fall on him to do that task. And he said, well, I don't mind, just so long as it's the responsibility of the person who's wanting to do this to look at it first. He's like, I'm willing to go through and double check it. But it would be nice if they would come and tell me, I'm doing this on this date, and I know what I'm looking for then, so.
And you will notice that the updated
Yes, I do
policy is in
red.
red.
Yeah. This one would have been easy to read anyway.
That's right.
That's all.
Yep.
Minimal paper.
All right, I will accept a motion.
I move to approve the update to the lunch policy as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been approved, or there's a motion and a second to update the lunch policy.
Was there a second?
Yes.
Okay.
I missed that. I'm like,
And everyone has read the paragraph, the
Yes,
updated
the whole thing.
policy. Any
whole
other
paragraph.
questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the motion is carried. Thank you, and thank them for pulling that
They
together.
worked on
Figuring
it.
it out.
Yeah, it
yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
a good,
It went very well. There was a question, and I said, all right, guys, let's figure out how to make this work, and they hammered it out, so. It was a group effort.
We like consensus building. All right, next, number 7, approval of an updated meeting room policy.
Okay, with the transition of the computer lab into the new conference room, which is where we are currently sitting, it was time to review and update our meeting room policy, which was approved by the library board in 2014. Taking into consideration the previous policy, the business center policy, and the new space that has been added, as well as a model policy provided by our attorney, a draft of an updated policy was created. The draft was then reviewed and adjusted by our attorney. So Ann Suring, the library law specialist with Foster, Swift, Collins, and Smith, reviewed this proposed and updated meeting room policy. So in this case, there were enough adaptations and changes that you really needed to just read through the whole thing. It wasn't really a situation of redlining. There would have been an awful lot of red. She reworded a number of things because a lot has changed in terms of meeting room policy and all.
oh, because we've added rooms.
We've
and
added
things different,
rooms
so
and
that's-
exactly, so it was easier to, plus we had the whole thing with the business center, so we were kind of trying to integrate the two and make sure that there weren't conflicts between the two policies and that kind of thing, so.
And they've divided it nicely. I mean, we have availability,
Mhm.
conditions,
yeah.
scheduling and reservation,
Yes.
food and beverage, fees and charges, cancellation, library closure, liability, and disciplinary process for violations. Very
You would think that we got it covered.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty comprehensive policy.
Well, and there were some things in here that are in the new policy that were not in the previous policy. For example, we updated our food policy now that we have a larger team of custodial staff. We used to be very limiting in food in our meeting rooms, and that was because we had one person and she just couldn't keep up if we were letting people eat anywhere in the building. We have a better coverage of that, so we were able to adapt some of that and free up that policy a little bit. Just some nice things that we were able to add.
So positive tweaking.
Positive tweaking happened, yes, lots of positive tweaking.
All right, did anyone have any questions about any of these items?
I just wanted to comment that I'm glad that we put the no red or purple drinks actually in the policy.
Yes.
Because while it's suggested many times at many venues, it's not part of the policy, so you can't really always enforce it. So
Yep.
I'm really glad that it's.
That was one of the pieces that was in the old policy that came through.
It came through, good.
It came right on through, no red or purple drink. People laugh when they read it, but they just, oh my gosh, just make such a mess out of the carpet.
Okay, and
Yeah,
we're
if they
very,
see the carpet one time, they'd understand.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
you just can't get it out.
Okay. That was very thorough. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll accept the motion.
I move to approve the meeting room policy as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting room policy as presented. If there are no other comments or questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is approved. Now, number 8, the approval of a disciplinary process for policy violation policy. All right.
So,
It's an awkward title, but
sometimes agenda items are just like that. During the review and update of the meeting room policy, the attorney asked if we have a disciplinary process in place for policy violations. Since we do not, she provided the attached policy for the library board to review and approve. Now, originally she had written it into the meeting room policy, but I thought that it would be better to split it out. So you'll notice in the meeting room policy, she alludes to this policy, but my feeling was if we do it separately, the way we have our policies listed on our employee server, it's easier if they're separate. So that if something happens, they can answer that question. They're not going to think to look in the meeting room policy for the disciplinary procedure.
Well, and you may in fact find that some other policy is being violated and want to be able to have a disciplinary process. So
more
this
coverage.
is- It does, it covers
Yes.
And Marilyn
other
and I
situations.
And Marilyn and I had talked about an appeal process, which this includes an appeal process, you know, what that entails in going to the board and that kind of thing. So this answered a lot of questions, solved a lot of problems, and by making it separate, made it a little bit easier for the staff to be able to find it, should they have questions about things.
We'll hope we won't have to use it, but it's a good thing to have.
So far, so good.
So,
Well, it's always better to have a policy in place before
Right, before
it is
something
ever
happens.
needed.
Yes.
And hopefully,
After the fact.
it will never be needed.
Right.
Yeah, because it does seem like, it's like, wow.
I mean, we've been fortunate that our community uses the library appropriately.
Our librarians, especially when we get new librarians, comment on, I almost hate to say this out loud for fear that it'll jinx us, but that we have it's such a lovely community, we have such great patron behavior, we don't have trouble with our teenagers or the kids, that generally speaking, things are just, you know, they say they've worked other places where they've had to have security guards or after-school monitors to manage behavior, that they've had to throw kids out of the library. It just doesn't happen here.
Right.
And but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have it in place,
That's
just
right.
in case.
Right, because you don't want to have to, once there is a circumstance that would
Yeah.
require it, well, we don't have a policy.
We don't know
and
what
then
to
you-
do.
then nobody knows what to do, so.
We're much larger than we were in the past.
Definitely.
And which is one reason why we did not have that. I remember, you know, some of the larger libraries, these are major problems.
Absolutely.
And
Sure.
costly.
Very.
So to enforce them, make sure they're
Right, it's,
taken care of and that the property is
Plus,
protected.
I think
the
having it written
patrons are
down,
protected and
it depersonalizes it. It isn't because that kid did that. It's
because it
this
says here.
this.
that's a
Yeah,
very good
it's the
point.
rules.
Right.
And
It's
there
the
is an
rules
appeal
forever.
process.
And it's not specific for an age group either. This is
No.
if anybody violates a policy that,
If we have a
Right.
misbehaving senior, you know.
how will old people?
I will accept a motion.
I move to approve the meeting room policy, or the disciplinary process for the policy violation policy as presented.
That was a mouthful.
My tongue already didn't want to say
Thank you, that does
Sorry.
throw us off a bit, doesn't it?
Sorry.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the disciplinary process for policy violation policy as presented. Any other comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Let's try to have any more policies with two policies in the word.
try not to.
The title.
I tried several ways to reword that, and none of them worked, I just gave up.
It's all right, it's an exercise. in-
Yes, vocal cords like the King's Speech. Number 9, approval of an updated closed date calendar.
Okay. At the July 15, 2019 meeting, the library board approved the 2020 closed date calendar. There are 2 updates to be approved at this time. The first one, the library closes on summer Sundays beginning the Sunday after the last day of school. There was a typo in the original calendar stating that that begins on June 9th, but it actually should begin on June 7th. So that was a mistake on my part. Number 2, at the time of the calendar's approval, we did not yet have a selected date for our annual all-staff training day. This is an event we share with 2 neighboring libraries in order to network and share expenses. So we needed to work with them to coordinate when that would be. Together, we have selected Friday, October 2nd of 2020. The packet contains an updated calendar with the changes identified in red. Also included at your places, there was one other error that was caught by the IT department when they were uploading the packet. And that is at the very, very bottom,
Yeah.
it should say that we are closing at 6 on, that must be Kaboomistry next door.
I thought we were gonna have to get that discipline thing out.
Kaboom!
Yes, we have the, I believe it's the Michigan
It's a
Science
science.
Center doing a program called Kaboomistry, why things go boom. So, yes. Sorry about that. Thursday, December 31st, 2020, we close at 6 on New Year's Eve, so.
Yes.
That's so easy to do.
Well, that's what happens when you copy the list from last year and just nothing.
Good that you got it.
Yes.
I didn't catch it, IT department caught it. He said,
Someone
hey,
got
you
it.
missed one, so
That's
somebody
good.
got it.
That's why we like editors.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a couple of additions and corrections. An addition and a couple corrections.
I move that we approve the updated closed date calendar as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the close date calendar as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is passed. Thank you. And at this time, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we should adjourn at 6:44. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That was a lot of business.
Nobody wants to say nay, right? There you go then. Good, thank you.